Good evening to all of you. We appreciate you for joining us this evening for our community engagement regarding the Albina and North Portland libraries for Multnomah County. What an exciting project. We are excited that you're here with us tonight to begin this discussion about revitalization, reimagining what our libraries can be. My name is Erica Warren, and I will be facilitating our conversation this evening. I would appreciate your patience as we give just a few more moments to let others join us in the virtual space.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Zoe. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon.
Welcome, Zoe.
Yes, thank you. Thank all of you who've joined us. Zoe, it's a pleasure to have you. We're going to have an opportunity just to get started in a moment. We're so glad you're here with us in the space.
I've never been here before.
Well, we are glad to have you, Zoe.
We're going to question, how long does this meeting go until?
It's 90 minutes. So it'll last until 7:30.
I thought it goes until 8 o'clock.
Nope, just 7:30. You'll get a little bit of your time back.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. We have it all timed out so that we'll only take 90 minutes of your night.
Thank you.
You bet.
I've been having a lot of nap problems.
Okay. Well, so you should definitely take care of yourself. If you need to step away, put yourself on mute, turn off your camera, that's all great.
Good evening again to those who are just joining us in this space. We welcome you as we begin the conversation tonight, an exciting conversation about our Albina and North Portland libraries in Multnomah County. Again, I'm Erica Warren. I'm facilitating our conversation tonight with our wonderful design team and the team from Multnomah County. We are excited you're here. Briefly, before we're going to get into some logistics and some housekeeping, but for those of you who are joining us from the public tonight, if you would mute your microphone, if you don't know how to do that, I'll explain later, but it's going to help us. In this virtual space, we try to make it as close to a informal, personal engagement, but sometimes with our microphones on, it's hard and there's feedback. And so we want to just ask you to hold off if you have questions. There's a chat feature as well, and we'll get further into that. I will say to you how exciting this is for me. I've shared this with the Lever team and some from Multnomah County as a third generation Portlander. I am very proud of both of these locations. As a young girl, I recall my mother carting me to the Albina Library to pick books and to encourage my lifelong learning. It's been a first step for me, and I'm sure it will be for those coming in the future. So we're excited about tonight. This is about envisioning. This is about you all giving us an opportunity to share your vision, to share what's important to you as the community. You know what, could we just, who's sharing the slides for me this evening?
I'm sharing.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chandra.
You bet. Go ahead and start.
Indeed.
All right, can everyone see those slides? Excellent.
Excellent. Again, we are focusing tonight on engagement with this community, this vibrant and growing community for the Albina and North Portland libraries. Next slide, please. We want to let you know that this team is prepared for you. If you need interpretation, there is that option for you in Spanish and Somali. If you are new to Zoom, across the bottom of your screen, there is a small button that looks like a globe that says interpretation. If you click there, there are options for you if that fits, and we hope that that will meet your need. Next slide, please. We also, if you can see, have an ASL interpreter in the room for us. There is an option for you on that same panel across the bottom of your screen, just about in the middle, called the live transcript. And if you click on that, it will provide subtitles for you that can help you follow along as well. Next slide, please. So those logistics that I was speaking of earlier, we ask all of you who are not speaking at the time if you would use the mute function. So on the very far left of the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a little microphone, and we'd ask you to keep yourself muted unless you're speaking. In the middle there is a reactions tab. And if you click on that, it will give you the opportunity to raise your hand almost virtually. So we don't have to do like we did in class, but virtually you can raise your hand. There are many in the room who are helping us to notice those. Zoe, I see your hand raised there. Also, if there's something exciting for you, there are other reactions there that you can use to react in the meeting. One other very important feature for us tonight is the chat. So on that same panel at the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a little bubble that is the chat bubble. If you click on that, you can type your message in, and we are monitoring the chat to make sure that we capture all of your comments and questions. Next slide, please. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Kelsey.
Thank you. We're going to do a land acknowledgement this evening. This land beneath us were the traditional village sites of the Multnomah, Cathlamet, Clackamas, bands of Chinook, Tualatin Kalapuya, Molalla, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia and Willamette rivers. We are honored to be guests upon these lands. In the same way that we acknowledge the systemic policies of genocide, relocation, and assimilation that still impact many Indigenous families today, we acknowledge the Black community in Portland has been displaced and harmed by a history of exclusion laws, redlining, and displacement. In very recent history, the construction of the I-5, the Vanport floods, and the seizure of land for the hospital have caused harm and scattered the community.
Kelsey, thank you for that.
Sorry,
ahead,
Erica, to
Chandra.
interrupt. I just wanted to maybe take a pause and make sure that we catch those hands up before we get too far along, just to make sure there's not any technical issues with folks.
Absolutely. Zoe, I see your hand. If you would unmute and give us your question.
My question is it gonna be like recorded?
Yes, it is going to be recorded. And for those community members that are unable to join us tonight, there will be an opportunity for them to go back and take a look at our discussion this evening.
And how, you said how long it will be? It will be like an hour and a half?
Yes, we'll be here for about 90 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for your question.
And someone put in the chat, is there a way to switch to an ASL interpreter?
Let's see.
Because they are having
You can switch your views in the top right-hand corner of your screen. So at the very top of the Zoom screen, there's going to be a small button that says View. If you click on that, often the easiest way for me is to go to the side-by-side gallery.
I was just helping.
Yes. Yes, we appreciate that, Zoe. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ali, I see your hand.
Ollie, you're gonna have to unmute.
Okay, great. He just, let's
Yeah.
see.
Oh, we hear you now.
Ali,
Yeah,
go
just
ahead.
send the message. Yeah, if there's any Somali or my speaker who need help, I'm Somali and my interpreter. So I'm in the line. If anyone need help to interpret.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your help.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jeffrey, I see your hand.
My question is simple. I can't get the ASL interpreter to be, I can't get the speaker to be the one that's highlighted. It just defaults to the ASL interpreter. That person's pinned as a permanent speaker. I'm just wondering if there's a technical glitch or am I doing something wrong?
That's a great question, Jeffrey. Is there a technical support staff that can help us here?
Sorry, say that again, Jeffrey. Are you just trying to highlight the ASL interpreter?
No, the ASL
No.
interpreter is pinned for all of us as the main
Yes.
speaker.
Oh, you know what? You can change your view and put it to gallery view so that you can see everyone.
We've done
Yeah,
that, but
I
it's still pinned.
It still
You can-
pins.
Yeah, Jeffrey, we have to do that for the recording so that people who are watching the video afterwards, it records that because it only permanently records the pinned ones.
Oh,
So
okay. All right,
unfortunately,
thanks.
it's a downside, and you just have to kind of pan through the little film strip until you find the speaker.
I think, Jeffrey, you
Thank
may
you very
be
much.
able to click on the ellipses in the upper right-hand corner of the window of the speaker, and you can choose pin or remove spotlight.
No, the pin option's not showing up, but I don't want to take too much time. I'll just go on and watch best I can. Thanks.
Jeffrey, thank you for your question. Are there others with their hands raised that I cannot see? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone else before we move on.
I don't see anyone else, Erica.
Thank you, Chandra.
You bet.
Seeing none, I'd like to move into what we're going to call our community agreements. This is how we want to function in this virtual space.
There was one more question that I had for you. It's for Sandra.
I'm here.
Sandra, this is Zoe. Question. You said it's 90 minutes. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yep, you got it right. 90 minutes. 7:30.
Okay. Thank you.
Bet.
Good job. Thank you to all of you. Thank you for responding. And once you have completed your question, you can go back into the reactions, and if you'll lower your hand, that'll let me know that we have answered your question and that we don't need to call on you again right at that moment. Okay, so that same function that you used to raise your hand, you would click it again to lower your hand. Okay. All right, so we're going to move into, again, our community agreements. These are it's our roadmap for how we plan to engage in our conversation tonight. And I want to start with your voice matters. You are here in this space because you are valuable to this process. We are looking for your authentic self, for your authentic engagement to help the design team as they begin to imagine what this library space could mean for our communities. We ask that you would stay engaged. We realize in a Zoom space, it's not quite like being in a personal, in-person meeting, but we ask if you're here, join us in this space. Turn on your video, let us engage with your face, with your smile, even sometimes with your question or content. We can see that on your expression. We ask you also, we realize there are family things, there are our loved ones, our animals that we need to tend to. Please make sure to take care of your needs. I would ask that you would mute if you have background noise so that we can continue to move forward. We ask that you would listen to understand. I love this, that we are all teachers and learners. So we have some technical experts here. We have community and we have folks that work for Multnomah County. All of us have our expertise, and so do you. We realize the community is here. Your background, your experience, your family life, all of those things bring a rich perspective to our conversation tonight. We ask that you would keep an open mind, that all of us are different in this space, and the diversity in this room is what's going to make this conversation really rich. So we ask you to respect yours and others' truths. All of us have a different background, upbringing, but that's going to make this collaborative effort one that is spectacular. Step up and step back. That means we want to respect airtime, right? So respecting that there are everybody, we want to hear everyone's voice. Remember, your voice matters. So pull back sometimes, step up if you want to give a comment, but also respect that there are others in the room who would want to contribute to the conversation. We ask that you would use that raise your hand feature so that we're not speaking over each other, okay? And then we want you to be conscious, taking mental notes, even taking notes on paper or on your computer to ask what things have we missed? Where are the gaps? What should we add or revise to make this an awesome experience? Next slide, please. All right, so quickly, I'll let you know, we've just come through our introduction. We're gonna have some presentations, an introduction to the site, and then a presentation on libraries of the 21st century, which will begin to get your creative juices flowing about what these spaces could offer. And then we're going to break into some small groups so that we can dive deeper in with the design team and we can hear from all of you, your input, your suggestions, and your comments. And then about 7:20, we'll come back together and we'll talk about some next steps and we'll wrap up our meeting. Next slide, please.
All right. Here we go.
I'll hand it over to Ms. Chandra.
Thank you, Erica. So I want to share with you that there are so many people involved in these bond projects to design and build the Albina and North Portland libraries. The folks that you see here on this screen are with us today. And we're a team that's made up of people from the library, from Multnomah County, and we have design team members from Nolan-Tam Architects in the Bay Area and from Lever Architecture here in Portland. We're also obviously thrilled to have Erica Warren with us to facilitate our meetings, and she'll be with us throughout the project. So these are all folks that you're going to see again and again. And someone that you'll hear from soon is Sarah. And she is our library programmer, and she's going to present to you to the libraries of the 21st century. First, I would like to welcome Vayli, and she's going to speak to you next. I'm just going to stop the screen share here so we can see each other's faces once again. Oh, you're going to have to unmute, Vayli. We don't have you yet.
That is unfortunately entirely too common for me. So good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I think probably most of you understand this is our first such community engagement event, one of many as we move forward through the 8 years of this process. So thank you so much for taking time out of your lives to join us here this evening. You know, back in November, when the voters approved the library capital bond, they did so with a really authentic assurance from us that all of our work over the course of this program would center the community we serve. It was a really important part of how we're approaching this work. We take that very seriously. And this evening's time together is definitely a demonstration of that. So thank you for being here. We're looking forward to hearing your voices and your thoughts. This is the first of several virtual meetings for what we're calling the Chapter 1 community outreach events. You may get the sort of literature illusion there. We are librarians after all. So those events are for the Albina and North Portland libraries. And there will be additional other community engagement efforts, such as discussions with community organizations, safely distanced in-person listening sessions, and so on. This isn't the only sort of mode of that kind of communication. The library capital bond projects reflect far more than buildings. These projects are a deep investment in great communities by you, our community. Libraries today offer so much more than books, and that's what I think is so exciting about these projects. It gives us an opportunity to really reflect that in how these spaces are designed and considered. You know, around the world, libraries are showing us whole new possibilities for what it means to be a public library. Libraries include things like technology hubs where people from the community can get their hands on technology to have job interviews or to connect with people far away. They include maker spaces where young people can try new technologies that they would never have the opportunity to experience were it not for that maker space in that public library. Some of them include studios for recording and for new media, which I think is super cool. And some of them are small business engines that provide resources and the technology and equipment to help people launch a new business and help entrepreneurs think through what they might do going forward. I'm really excited about the possibility of performance spaces in our buildings. Our libraries, as I think most of you know, are incredibly small. And so we don't have a lot of space for really significant performances that our community can attend for free. And then there are also community gathering hubs. And what I think is the really neat thing about that is, as such, you know, members of the community get to decide what that experience is like. You know, they can invite friends to join them at the library. They can hold community meetings in the library. They can have book groups, and having more space really makes those experiences much richer and more worthwhile. So that's just a little tiny sample of, I think, what lies ahead for all of us. And I hope you're as excited as I am about all of those possibilities. You'll be hearing a lot more about that from Sarah in just a little bit. But, you know, at the end of all of this, what each of these projects look like is really up to you. Your input and your good thinking and your aspirations will drive our work now and into the future. I can't tell you how grateful I am to each of you for your time, your energy, and all the ideas I'm sure you're going to share, not just this evening, but over time. I can't wait to see what lies ahead and what we're going to create together. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Bailey. I want to continue to talk about the team just a little bit. Tyler and I are going to really introduce ourselves because we're going to be here. We're going to be talking a lot. We want to get to know you just a little bit and let you know us a little bit. So my name is Chandra, and I'm a principal at Lever Architecture. And I grew up here in Portland, out on the east side near the Rockwood Library, actually. But my family moved to North Portland in the 90s. So it's been a long time. I went to PSU for undergrad, and I went to architecture school on the East Coast. But as soon as I was done, I came back here because I love Portland. My family's here. It's a beautiful city. And for folks who haven't lived in other cities, they don't realize, you know, how different they are. And so having that experience really made me want to come back. And I do love it. So now I'm going to also share a little bit more about the rest of our team and tell you why these projects are so important to us. So as you can see on the screen, the Lever office is right on Albina. We've done many projects in the neighborhood. Our office is in the neighborhood. And then if you see all those little house icons, those are where all of our staff live. So we actually live here, we work here, and we are very much part of the community. So we are so, so proud to actually get to work on these libraries for you and with you. We recently completed Meyer Memorial Trust, and that's just down on Vancouver. It's only a few blocks away from the Albina Library site. So we really have been in the area for a while. And another way that we really connect with the community is through youth engagement. So we work with several programs, Your Street, Your Voice, Camp ELSO, Empower Her, and also the National Organization of Minority Architects. And we do this, we like to work with students, with high school and middle school students, to really talk about design and the ways that design can be a tool for social justice, and talk about who typically makes decisions about space and design space, and how you can get involved in all of that. It's really important to me personally because, you know, I'm from Portland and I graduated from architecture school. And then when I came back here to practice, I found that I was one of 4 people who identify as Black who are registered architects here in Oregon. That's 4 people, it's not 4%, it's not 40, it's a very small number. And so it's really personally important to me to be involved in this community and help any students who are interested sort of grow and get into the design and construction fields in any way that they are really excited about. So I'm going to share also a little bit about our schedule. And this is really just to show you that we are right here, right, at the beginning of this community engagement process. And there's a lot of different ways that we're going to engage with you that I'll share later. But really, this is to show you, here we are. Design doesn't start until next year. These are our listening sessions with you. And with that, I'm going to let Tyler share a bit as well.
Got to unmute. Yeah, just a sec. Hey all, again, I'm Tyler Nishitani, project manager for both these library projects, working at Lever here with Chandra. I grew up here as well. Actually, I'm a 4th generation Portlander. I signed up for my very first library card when I was still writing my letter N's backwards. But apparently cursive was kind of cool. Long before Portland was a foodie destination, long before there were Segway tours zooming around downtown, I was in Goodwill's trying to complete my collection of Dairy Queen Trailblazers glasses. Still got them, Rip City. Thanks for coming out tonight, giving up your evening. I just want to share with you quickly why this, or what we're thinking about this community engagement process and why we're so excited about this opportunity. So the bond is funded, the projects are real, and we're ramping up with the community engagement first, very intentionally, before anything else, before we're designing anything. Community engagement is first because when we start design, we want to have everything on the table that's going to influence and drive the design. Our team was picked in part because we have a lot of experience designing libraries, but these are your libraries, and we want it to feel that way through this entire process. We don't want to presume what you need or how you need it. We want to acknowledge also that the design and development professions historically have failed to listen to these communities. And although we're doing a little bit better recently, there's still a long way to go. And we strive to do a much better job at this. The last thing we want is for this project to feel like a train barreling through while y'all are just trying to throw sticky notes at it. We'll gauge our success by how you feel at the end of the project. So we're so excited about this opportunity we have here because of a combination of things. These projects, funded public community libraries, are literally intended to serve the community, open and welcoming to everyone, with programs, resources, or just space to be, all for free. This time, in the midst of a global pandemic, a global climate crisis, a global social movement, Black Lives Matter, it couldn't be more pivotal. This community in Oregon, a state who's restricted and oppressed communities of colors since it was founded, in Portland, a city who's protested ongoing issues under the national spotlight, and in Albina and North Portland, neighborhoods with communities that have persevered despite receiving a brunt of oppression and exploitation. And this team, the design team, the construction team, and our library team is made up of a variety of professionals that were handpicked because this kind of work is our passion. Not because it's easy, but because we believe this is an opportunity to do something incredible for a community that deserves it. We want to co-create these libraries with you, to envision what they can be together, not just to have you pick paint colors or argue about how many parking stalls we should have, but we want to share with you the power and privilege of imagining a world into existence. But let me take a step back. I know talk is cheap. Here I am promising the world, and it's completely fair to be skeptical. So where's the accountability? I think it's in our continuity. We're not going anywhere. Community engagement will not be done as a one and done process. Over the course of the entire project, through the 5 pairs of community engagement events, through our YOTA student work, which Chandra will talk about a little more, through dozens of community stakeholder interviews, we will have many opportunities to listen and to take to heart what y'all are saying. And we'll have opportunities for you to tell us if we're going off in a weird direction. We won't promise the entire world to you, but we can promise to be honest and upfront about the opportunities and the constraints that we're seeing. So together, we can prioritize and we can stretch the most out of these projects that we can get. I want to talk briefly about an idea called research justice. It's an idea about how we collect and use feedback that it challenges the norm of doing outreach that's convenient for us, or outreach that focuses on the majority of folks, or in other words, focusing on dominant culture. We understand, but instead it focuses on underserved individuals, those of us facing the systems of oppression, those subjected to disproportionate impacts of climate change, and so on. Because when we solve problems, when we solve those problems for those communities, we also solve those problems for everyone else. But maybe more importantly, it's simply a more just way to operate. Thanks for letting me talk at you. I don't think I'm going to get the mic back, so I'll turn it back over to Chandra after this. Over the next year, but especially here in the next few months, our team will be working to connect with as many as you as we can. I hope you'll come back again and again to be with us through this entire process. Community engagement is absolutely our biggest priority, and it's important to us and the rest of the team that we do this the right way. We want to make this process and the outcomes better. And yes, for upcoming events, we'll get the invites out much earlier. We're working on it. But please share with us your stories, your memories, and your dreams. And now Chandra can tell you all the ways how.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. So Tyler talked about a few of the different ways and talked about these 5 pairs of community engagement meetings. So I'm just going to share a little bit about that with you. So on this side, you see the virtual ways that we're connecting. We really love connecting with you and hearing your stories and hearing your thoughts. And so this is why we're doing it this way. We're going to do these 5 Thursdays where we have a Zoom meeting just like this. But then on the weekend, we're also going to do an in-person event. So you can actually come out and meet us and talk to us in person. And actually this Sunday, we're going to be at the King Park near the farmers market with all of these boards that have the same content that you're going to see tonight. And you can talk to us all about it if you have anything more that you want to add. But we also have a bond project website that will have event notices and various links for information so that you can always know what's going on. There's an email that we're going to share with you. So if you have any thoughts, you have any comments, any things that kind of come up later, you can feel free to email those to us so that we can get them. We're going to show you a Miro board where we're kind of storing all of these ideas. And we're actually going to bring all of the boards once we've had them at the farmers market. We're going to take them to the Albina and the North Portland and the Kenton libraries and leave them there so that anytime you're in the library over the next few weeks, you can actually come back and drop us a note if anything sparks your imagination. So we really want to provide a lot of different ways for you to talk to us and tell us about your community and what it needs. Again, the youth engagement program is really important to us. So we're going to have a YOTA youth engagement process. Applications are open right now. So if you have any middle school kids or teens in your life who you think would like to be involved in this project, have them fill out an application. This is a paid opportunity for them to be involved in an architectural project. We're also going to have a Your Street, Your Voice cohort in January. So it's another opportunity for youth to be involved. And we're even thinking about engagement all the way through construction. So it's not just happening before design and during design, but it's happening during construction. And we'll sort of develop all of those ideas a little bit later as we go. This is one thing I want to share with you that you can email us. We'll provide you a link to this map online. And really, this is a map that we've created that has a lot of different community resources, right? So there are schools and community centers, organizations, all things that provide some kind of service to the community. And what I would love for you to be able to do is take a look at it and tell me who's missing, right? Like, we're not the experts, you're the expert, and we want to hear from you what's important to you. And this is one way that you can do it. Just one, there's going to be a lot of ways. So we'll share that email with you also and share this link so that you can reach out to us at any point. All right, we're about to move on to the big part of our meeting, which is the presentations, libraries of the 21st century. I want to take a brief pause just to make sure, have folks been checking the chat? Are there things that we need to address before we move on to the site information? Looks like we're good. All right. So I'm going to keep going. Yeah.
Question. This is Zoe from Portland, Oregon. I'm wondering, so you guys meet every week?
So the community engagement meetings will actually be at the end of the month. We'll have another one at the end of October, and we're going to send out all kinds of information so that you know when and where that's happening. It hasn't been.
Is it going to be on Zoom?
There will be one that's on Zoom, yes, and one in person.
Okay.
Great.
Hey, Chandra, I just want to mention we're about running a few minutes behind. So just so everyone coming after you is aware.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelsey. All right, so I'm going to show you a little bit about these two sites so you know where we're going in the future. This is the site of the Albina Library. It's really small right there. You can just barely see it, but you'll see over here is Emmanuel Hospital. And down here is Harriet Tubman School, Williams, and MLK, just to help orient you a little bit. Zoom in a little bit closer so you can see the tops of the buildings. And what you see here is the historic Albina Library. You know that used to be the Tidal Wave bookstore. Behind it is a loading dock, and then behind that is the operations center. So the historic, beautiful building will of course be preserved. And then the operations building and the loading dock will be removed. And this is the space that we'll have left to design a new Albina library. For the North Portland Library,
I also have one more question.
And it's right next to Jefferson High School. There's I-5 off to the side, Emmanuel Temple Church, and PCC are some of the big landmarks that are all around it. And as we zoom in closer, you see that this site is much smaller. So, of course, the beautiful historic Carnegie Library will be preserved, and a small addition will be designed that fits on this smaller site. All right, next up is Sarah and Trina.
Welcome. Thanks so much for being here tonight, all of you. Trina from Nolan, Tam, and I have the pleasure of helping you dream about these possibilities for these two great libraries. I'm Sarah Mueller. I'm a library consultant on the project. I live up in Canada, in Calgary, Alberta, Treaty 7 territory with the Blackfoot, the Stoney Nakoda, the Tsuut'ina, and Métis Nation, Region 3. And I'm wearing orange today in honor of Canada's first official National Day to honor truth and reconciliation. But I'm here because I love libraries, and I love how libraries have changed and shifted over the years based on the needs of the communities they serve. Our goal in the next few minutes is to give you some broad ideas about how libraries are different than they used to be, and to give you a sense of the possibilities, how these renovated and expanded libraries can make a difference in your life. We won't take long because we want to hear from you, and I'm going to ask you some questions, so be prepared to put some answers in the chat. Because your job is to think of how the following spaces and activities could support your life and your goals. So the new library really is about these three things: people, place, and services. It's about how to help people realize their own potential. And sometimes that's still through books. Libraries are also fundamentally public spaces. So when you think about your favorite public space in Portland, where do you go? It could be a park, a square, a farmer's market. The possibilities are endless, but where do you like to spend your time? Please put your answers in the chat. So library, oh, can we go back one, Chandra, to people? So library is people. Libraries have become about people first versus books first. Library staff are there to help and guide, and they focus on connecting with the community and often delivering services out in the community. Now we can go to the next one because it's library as place. People have come to see libraries as their third place. That's not home or work or school. Libraries are public spaces where everyone's welcome and where the community can gather. And these renovated and expanded spaces are an opportunity to highlight community stories that you want told and remembered. Books, or as library staff will call them, collections, are there to meet community needs. But spaces are also need to be adapted to accommodate new things, like Bailey said, around events, programming, community groups. And then the next slide for library as service, because library services have evolved and changed over the years. And the future of them is what we'll hear from you in the next few months, because we're going to build it together. So libraries are a place for learning, school support, a place to complete a resume and a cover letter and get help with your interview skills. And they're a place for access to technology and so much more. Next slide, please, Chandra. So Trina and I are going to spend the next few minutes talking about these themes that are present in libraries today. We're going to show you lots of beautiful pictures that are examples of what's possible and what the library could offer to support you and your family and friends. We really want to hear from you about how the library might meet your needs. So keep those comments in the chat going. Next slide, please. Connections to nature. Next slide. It's so important to connect to nature. It's a part of what makes all of us human. It's connecting to the land. Nature inspires us, it calms us down, and it makes a significant difference in how we feel and how we interact with the space. Next slide. Libraries are beginning to expand outside their doors to consider the opportunities of the outdoor spaces around library buildings and what those outdoor spaces might offer to the community. Next slide. This is the amazing outdoor space at the Austin Public Library. It's a gathering place with sunshades, nature, views of the city, all of which create lovely spaces for the community to gather and be together. So, are there any outdoor spaces in the neighborhood that you particularly love? And why do you love them? Put your ideas in the chat. Next slide, please. Quiet and active. Can both those things happen in a library? Huh. Well, libraries aren't quiet places anymore, and this is not your grandparents' library. Libraries are now active and even noisy. It's really amazing how the echo of children's voices can change the environment of a space, usually for the better. Do you visit the library with your children, your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews? What do they do there? Why do they like it? Put your answers in the chat. And then I'll also say that as active spaces matter, balance is also critically important. Along with noisy spaces, we all need spaces dedicated to quiet and reflection. So if quiet spaces are important to you, tell us so and tell us why and what you use them for. And then flexibility, flexible spaces. Even children's spaces don't always need to be busy and noisy. Sometimes the space can be reconfigured at different times of day as lively and active storytime spaces in the morning and transitioning to quieter study and reading spaces in the afternoon and after school. Next slide. Since libraries meet so many different needs for a community, flexible spaces are critically important. They can be for performances, school groups, and for quiet moments. Next slide, please. Program rooms can host a children's dance class, an author event, a community program with the right furniture and the flexibility. So think about the things that have brought you to a library and what things you'd like to be able to do there that you haven't been able to do in the past. put your thoughts in the chat. And Trina, over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, I'm Trina Goodwin, and I'm part of the design team, and I'll be helping to bring these ideas as they come forward from the community into the building. And to carry on what Sarah was introducing, support and collaboration is something that we see in libraries. So next slide. You can see that this is now a place where community members are coming together, whether it's students who might be working together on a project, or it could be community members starting an initiative. They don't have to wait for the library to start a program. They can come in and do their own thing as a group and support each other. But librarians are there to be help and guides, and we want to design our service points so that they're easy to find and that people feel comfortable going and getting help from librarians when they're in the library. Next slide. And the ideas of the kinds of support that can be found in libraries are growing and changing too. So we're finding that there are increasingly people who are houseless who might be coming into the library, and it's a great place to be able to connect with them and provide social workers and support to help people find the services they need, and to do it all with respect and dignity for everyone involved. Next slide. And so libraries, as we all are starting to realize, have a lot of technology, but the real power is that it's a place where you can get help using that technology, that it's the place where somebody might help you fill out a government form or an employment application, or might even help somebody who, an older person who's trying to understand Facebook and seeing the photographs of their grandchildren. It's the place we can all get help. Why don't you think about a way that you've been able to get help or wanted to collaborate in the library, and put an idea in the chat of something that would work for you. Next slide. Bridging generations, but it's really about bridging connections between all of us. Next slide. We all, especially this last year, have become isolated in our worlds, stuck at home, away from friends and family. And when we can come back to the library, it's a way to cross bridges with people who are different from us. So it could be through volunteering in the library that people of different generations come together and help each other. Next slide. Next slide. Or it could be through storytelling and sharing your technology and music and experiences that you can connect with new people. And the next slide. And we think that, when you think about what's magical about libraries, we often think of books, but really what that is telling stories. And so now we have new ways of telling stories, and libraries are becoming great places to do that. So we can capture oral histories and other kinds of stories that people have. And these are other resources you might want in your new library when you think about it. So as we are asking these questions, keep that in mind. Careers in small business, that's another great area where libraries can really invigorate the economy of a neighborhood. They can train people and give them more resources to improve their lives. Next slide. Could be classes that they might have about how to access career services or trainings. Or the next slide shows an example of how a space in a library might even be a place for a small business to have a meeting. Perhaps you wouldn't want to meet with a stranger in your home, but it's a place you could meet in a library and have an economic exchange. And then go ahead, forward. I think the next slide is coming, and it's going to show us how there are all kinds of programs that the library can put on to help people also improve their lives and get a step forward to make the most of their opportunities and their talents. Next slide. And now I'm going to hand it back to Sarah.
Thanks, Trina. So inviting and spacious. Can we go to the slide and this beautiful image? Because the entry points to libraries are a really important part of welcoming a community. This library has a place to hang out outside. It has windows so you can see what's happening inside the library. And it has nature that makes you feel welcome. Next slide. It's important to have a similar environment inside the library, opportunities to see all the activity for so many different users. And for example, this stairway is often used by day camps and school groups to eat lunch when they come to visit the library for a field trip. Next slide. Color, vibrancy, activity are also important so that you feel welcome and understand what's supposed to happen in the space and where do you need to go. So what makes you feel welcome when you enter a space? Share in the chat. And then children's spaces. Oh gosh, children's libraries are so much different than the library you probably remember as a child. They're becoming the center and the heart of libraries. And children are starting to ask their parents to go to the library because they have so much fun there. There are toys, activities, story times, and it's a place to come and play and to read. Next slide. Child-sized furniture, indoor playground elements, slides, climbing walls. These features bring surprise and delight. Next slide. And these spaces also inspire creativity, imagination, and a sense of wonder. They're noisy and active and often child-centered, encouraging children to choose their own books. I was at the library with my daughters and my 4-year-old nephew on the weekend, and he came home with twice as many books as usual because he got to choose them himself. And teen spaces. Man, the library is becoming a cool place for teens to hang out, believe it or not. It's a place to study, to meet friends, and play board games and have lunch. It's a place to learn a new skill, guitar lessons, for example, or to study quietly, have some space of your own. And it's also a place full of technology, this audio recording studio. So think a little bit about the places that you hung out as a teenager. Did you have robots and cameras and guitars? And what do you think teens need or want today? Over to you, Trina.
Thanks, Sarah. Discovery. You know, people think about libraries as places to go and learn, and that is the truth today, just as it's always been. But we're seeing that learning can come in more forms than just from books. It can come with working with pipe cleaners and building things, or it can come by learning to use sound equipment. All kinds of hands-on activities are happening in libraries. So start thinking about the kinds of hands-on activities you would like to be able to learn in the library. It could be virtual reality or a robotics class. And this slide is reminding us that learning new things isn't just for kids. You know, it can come to people of all ages and all backgrounds. Next slide. And it's a way, again, to share our culture and learn about ourselves in different ways. And so we want to think about discovery of the whole world that's out there. We want to share our cultures and our places. Next slide. People and collections. So let's not forget that the books are still important. You know, we have libraries across the country have found that during this pandemic, people have continued to request their books and love to get their materials. And so all these libraries, we've been showing you pictures of people doing other things, but books are still at the core of the mission of the library. Next slide. And here in Calgary, where Sarah is from, they even have special lights on all the shelves just to light them up like they're jewels. They're still the treasure of the library. Next slide. And cultural connections. I think this is what is really important. And one of the things we really want you to think hard about and be giving us answers both in the chat and online and as we have these discussions in small groups, because that's what really makes the library relevant to their community. In Calgary, this is an example of an elder circle that they have in the library where Indigenous nations can come and react or reinterpret their traditional ways of coming together and giving advice and learning and sharing of their knowledge and wisdom. And the next slide is an example in Nashville. What they found was meaningful to them is to show and educate people about the civil rights movement that happened there. And it's done through photography and collections and videos and stories. and trainings. These stools they have are to sort of recreate the lunch counter where protests happened. And they teach school children and tourists and even police academies about this. Next slide. I apologize. I have some noise in the background. And then lastly, this is Philadelphia, and they use food to share their cultural. I'm going to let Sarah continue because I've got a horn. Oh, there it went. Okay, so they use food as a way to educate people and share cultural connections. So we want you to be thinking about and put in the chat ways you think what would be meaningful in Portland. What would be ways that would be specific to this neighborhood and this community to share their history and what would be meaningful to you? Next slide. So that is our snapshot. This is a tour. It's not meant to be what your library should look like or what your library is going to be like. These are just some ideas to seed your imagination. And we're going to be taking this next question about what your dreams are for Albina and North Portland to our small breakout groups, where we'll give you more time to express yourselves and we can take notes. And I'm going to turn it back over to Erica to explain how this is going to work.
Okay, thank you. Yes, because we're just a bit behind schedule, I'd like to have you hold on to your questions and present them in the small groups. So again, we want to highlight for those that are using interpretation, please feel free to use the chat to engage, and there are folks that can help make sure that we get your important comments and questions. So I believe we're going to be divided into groups, not larger than 10, so that we have an opportunity to engage in a more deeper and more personal level. Next slide, please. I think Tyler's going to share a bit about the mirror boards before we head into the groups.
I think we're going to wait to just introduce the mirror boards once we're in there, but a note about anyone who's using an interpreter, please let us know in the chat so we can make sure that once we're in the breakout groups, you're paired up with that interpreter.
Indeed. Thank you. So I believe we don't have to do anything. We're going to be just moved automatically into our breakout rooms. Chandra, am I turning it back to you?
Yeah, thanks, Erica. Kelsey is going to put us all in breakout rooms. And as soon as you get in your breakout room, we're going to let folks take a little break. You might need a drink of water. You might need to go to the bathroom. This is a great time for that. As soon as you get into your breakout group, you can take a little break and then come back and we'll start our small group discussions and we'll tell you about the Miro board and we'll just talk about libraries. So be thinking about all those cool things that you saw Sarah and Trina present, and we will talk about them very shortly.
And
Chandra?
Justin, sorry, can I
Yeah.
make a note about the breakout rooms very quickly?
Please.
If you
Yes.
get put into a room, but you need an interpreter, please just leave the room and come back to the main room and I'll make sure you get into the room that you need to be in. Great.
Thanks, Kelsey.
And can we give folks a specific time, Chandra? It's 6:58. How long should
Yeah.
our break be and when we'll be engaging in our conversation?
Kelsey's going to take probably another minute. So let's hold out for a minute until 7 while she throws us all into our breakout rooms. If that sounds okay, Kelsey. I don't know. If
We're ready. We're ready to go.
We're ready. Okay. And then let's come back at like 7:03.
Sounds
Can
great.
I ask a question?
Sure.
Before we do the breakout rooms, I had a question for Sarah. Sarah, can you unmute yourself for a sec?
Hi, Zoe.
Hi, so you said you work for what library again?
So I am a library consultant on these projects and I live up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Okay. Okay. Can I
Cool.
do a breakout room with you? Is that okay?
I'm not sure how they work the breakout rooms and the magic behind the scenes, but I'm I hope that we have an opportunity to have a further conversation.
Because I really want to be with you.
Awesome. Kelsey, maybe you can shuffle and see if you can get her in there.
I'll do my best.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Okay. Zoe, why don't you not join the room when I send everyone into rooms?
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks. Here we go, everybody.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Thank you for everyone who has been with us for the entire meeting and participated in the breakout rooms. I hope that you had an opportunity to do a deep dive and you've shared all of your thoughts. For those of you who will be able to join on Sunday, maybe you have some additional thoughts. I wonder if we might, Chandra, just move into next steps since we're just a bit behind schedule, and folks can understand and learn how they can continue to stay connected and continue to give their input to this great opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all so much for being here. This is the first of 10 meetings that we have planned. And really, this has been so much fun to get to know some of you in the breakout rooms and talk about what you liked about libraries you have been in the past and the things that kind of sparked your imagination. We want to encourage you to come and meet us in person on Sunday at the farmers market, the King Farmers Market. Will be in the park really close by. And here's some other ways that you will be able to get involved. There is a Multnomah County Library website that has all of this information so that you can find out about all the events that are coming up. You'll be able to get a link to this recording in case there are any folks that you know who missed it and really wanted to be a part of it. They will actually be able to watch this recording later and they can come out and visit us. Here is the email, libraryspaces@multcolib.org. And if you have any follow-up comments for us, we would love to hear about it. Just send us an email. There's also an Instagram for the Multnomah County Library where you'll see posts about various things. And what's really important is the YOTA program. If there is a youth, if there's a teen in your life who you think would be interested, please have them reach out to us because this is a paid opportunity and students will get to actually work with us and learn about this project and help us on this project. And we're really excited to be able to do that. Here's the location of where the farmers market is going to be. We're going to love it. All of this, like I said before, is going to be saved to the website. And in fact, we're going to email all of you with a very short survey so that you can let us know if there's anything we should be doing differently next time, because this is a process and we want to make sure that works for everyone and that you feel heard and that we get all of your information. So I hope that's okay if we email you and ask you for a little feedback. But again, I just want to thank you because this has been really wonderful and I can't wait to see you all again at the next meeting.
I hope all of you will take all of those email addresses, and if you have an opportunity that you would come out and participate with the design team at King School Park on Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1. If you have additional things that you think about over the next few days, please come out and share those. Again, thank you to Sarah and Trina. Thank you, Vele, the rest of the design team for all of your intricate work on this. This is an exciting, exciting project. I wish that you would share this opportunity with your colleagues and neighbors and friends so that we can get as much input and make these spaces the best they can be for our community. Have a great evening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
And Zoe, if you want to stay on with me, I can make sure to get your email address.
Sure, Kelsey, I can do that.
Great.
Awesome.
And Sandra, if
yes.
you have a minute to stay on as well?
I sure do. I'll be here.
Perfect.